took my podcast, man.
What are you trying to do, blow my mind? Where is she? They split. Let's go. Don't matter, we don't want to go anyway. Come on. Okay, she's gonna burn you. They ain't gonna catch me now. All they think about is cars. They're not for you. They're just a bunch of small-town car freaks, that's all they are. They've been following me clear across 2 states. 3 states. Sure we'll race. You damn right we'll race. For pink. Pink slips? You mean for cars? Where to? You name it. Washington, D.C.
After D.C., we'll go on down to Florida. I've got some nice beaches down there.
This color me gone, baby! We ought to get some action soon. We'll need Fred to do a little work on the carburetors and check out the rear end.
I want air conditioning.
I want air conditioning.
Automatic heat.
I don't want automatic heat,
Rollaway bed.
rollaway bed.
In my backseat.
My back seat.
I don't like being crowded by a couple of punk road hogs clear across 2 states. If I wanted to bother, I could suck you right up my tailpipe.
Now, this man's dangerous, officer. He passed us on the right a couple of miles back. I swear he's going about 90. He must be on something.
Take it easy, man. You're gonna kill us.
You know, Anthony will take this podcast to Florida. What do you say? We'll live in the sun and we'll just, forget everything bad that ever happened to us, okay? They got some good beaches down there in Florida.
Well, yeah, do you want to 3, 2, 1 us or?
Yeah. This is a Warren Oates movie, so we got to start off with a 3, 2, 1. 3, 2, 1.
What are you trying to do? Blow my mind?
That's good, yeah. 3, 2, 1. Welcome to our podcast. The robots took my podcast. I am Jordan.
And I'm Anthony.
Anthony, this is one of your favorite movies, I believe. What movie are we talking about today?
Today, Jordan, we are talking about the 1971 film 2-Lane Blacktop, cult classic movie.
2-Lane Blacktop. Do we know what for the audience out there, a blacktop, meaning asphalt, basically. It means black asphalt. 2 lanes is a highway. So just for the layman out there, yes.
Yes. Those who haven't been on a road before, thank you for explaining that, Jordan. Is perfect. It's a road movie from the 70s. And
is it fair to say that this movie is kind of a result of the success of Easy Rider for Columbia? Like Universal, like every other studio in town is wanting some of that Easy Rider money.
Yeah, I would say that in the wake of Easy Rider, there were a lot of films like this, sort of films about the road or the American dream, or really embracing the hippie sort of culture, the counterculture, helmed by directors, the Raging Bulls and the Easy Riders, so to speak, of that generation, the American New Wave, Jordan, some call it.
Yeah. It's weird, too. This movie comes out the same year that Universal releases Dennis Hopper's post-Easy Rider movie, The Last Movie, which is another existential movie, oddly.
And that was the last movie that Dennis Hopper directed, I think. No, I'm just kidding. No, but we previously sort of talked about this period in American film in our Roger Corman episode.
Yes.
And Roger Corman worked a lot with the director of this film, Monty Hellman, worked a lot with Roger Corman. We talked about him briefly in that episode as well. And so you get a lot of these auteurs making film, like individuals, their dream, their passion, their project is on the screen. The studios are stepping back and letting a lot of these folks, just like Easy Rider, some of these newcomers, make movies about what's hip and with it, what the kids want to see.
Because the studios up into this point were just remaking Sound of Music. They were remaking musicals. They thought everybody just wanted nothing but musicals. And then I think they thought that the formula was a movie with an existential plot and anti-hero protagonists that go nowhere, essentially.
Yeah.
That's what the young people want, Anthony.
Yeah.
In 1971. That's what they want after Easy Rider. We've got it. We figured it out, what the kids want finally. We're the old people figuring it out what the kids want.
We're going to make $1 million, Jordan. We figured out the formula.
They want to go watch this movie at the drive-in, smoke dope, and watch a movie about other people going nowhere is what they want.
Vanishing Point, a whole slew, a lot of the other movies that Monty Hellman made prior to this, The Shooting, Ride the Whirlwind, a lot of what we would call existentialist films. Jordan, do you know what existentialism is, especially in film?
It's essentially where you have this sort of structure that goes against normal beliefs, traditional beliefs. And it's basically existential. The word I know comes, I learned that word reading Nietzsche in 8th grade, but it's like a belief that...
Look at the big brain on Jordan.
It's essentially the belief that there are no answers to anything, that there is, and that's essentially what we have here is an existential plot, where a plot that just kind of goes nowhere, essentially.
Yeah. I would agree to that. Like, existentialism is many things, a series of philosophical beliefs, but basically that the universe has no inherent meaning to it. That each individual, to your point, has to figure out their own purpose. There is no God, essentially.
Yeah,
there's no God.
Existentialism.
We have to find the meaning and purpose in our own lives. And then that's the struggle of life to figure that out.
Right.
And so, Jordan, this film is very much in that vein of counterculture 60s movies between, I'd say, the late 60s and early 70s. This may have been one of the films that sort of, I don't know, put a nail in the coffin to these kind of films, but this is certainly one of those types of movies. And Jordan, I actually, like you mentioned, I've had a very personal relationship to this movie. I haven't seen it in a number of years. I think since we lived together a while back.
That was the last time I saw it, was when we screened it, when you and I lived together, and I'd never watched it before.
And I had to dust off, Jordan, what they call a DVD player. My Blu-ray player, had to dust it off because I have the Criterion edition to this film, which is really great.
Criterion. Oh my, you are a fan.
I am a fan. I spent that money, and it's pretty interesting. Monty Hellman, before he passed, actually has commentary on it, which is more than you ever want to know probably about this film. But it's pretty interesting, and
that's true. I
recommend anybody who maybe likes this film go out and check that out. But Jordan, how does this movie begin?
Essentially with an interesting kind of simple credit, but basically it's a street race, right?
We're at a drag strip
where we meet Dennis Wilson's character and James Taylor's character. These are two musicians, yes.
Yeah, Jordan. So this is a musical, right? Do they break out in song at this drag strip?
They start singing right before they get into the car. It's a nice a cappella kind of guitar, kind of a simple acoustic kind of thing that they do. Well, actually, one of them, Dennis has bongo drums. James has the acoustic guitar.
He has the guitar, and he's driving with his feet because he's playing the guitar.
They're like, we're gonna race tonight and feel so good. No, I'm just making all that up.
Yeah, none of that happens. No.
I wish, but no. In fact, apparently, even they were disappointed they didn't get to sing in this movie together. Am I right?
There is an alternate universe in which there's a two-lane blacktop in which both of them sing at some point or display their musical talents, but not in this film at all.
And it wouldn't really... If they had done that, it wouldn't have been out of place in that time period. Would it have really been? I mean, come on.
Laurie Bird, oddly, is the only one who sings in this movie. I think Warren Oates maybe a little bit, but yeah. So anyway, they're on a drag strip, and these characters don't have any names. James Taylor, as you mentioned, is the driver. And Jordan, for folks who don't listen to Grandpa's Easy Listening Station, who is James Taylor?
James Taylor, he was most famous later on for singing a lot of soft rock kind of songs. I mean, back then, this is a year or two before he, I think, has the big hit song, I've seen fire and I've seen rain, seen sunny days, thought never see again. Real happy stuff. This is after, sadly, his girlfriend had gotten committed. he wrote this song. I'm not making that up, sadly. But yeah,
70s,
he wrote a lot of kind of sad songs. Basically, he dated Carly Simon later on.
Yeah.
But yeah, he never did
Singer
he act in
songwriter.
anything? I don't think he even acted in a Hallmark movie later on. Even I think this is the only thing he ever acted in, right? Just like much like Dennis Wilson, his co-star.
I'm not sure. Hold on, let me check.
Hang on just a second. Your phone call is very important. Please stay on the line. Have your Medicare questions ready.
Okay, no, he was in Funny People, an Adam Sandler vehicle, Cars,
An Adam Sandler movie?
soundtrack. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, he's got some credits. He's been on The Simpsons and whatnot. But yeah, movies, yeah. No, I think that's it. And who is Dennis Wilson for everybody? I mean, is he?
I mean, he was only the drummer in this little band called the Beach Boys, man.
Wow, the Beach Boys.
He was kin or brother to Carl Wilson and Brian Wilson. The late Dennis Wilson died in 1983, sadly, of a drowning. That's all I'll say. Anyway, but yeah, and he's survived by his brother Brian.
Yeah, keeping the Beach Boys alive. Brian wasn't. Brian has his own struggles.
The Beach Boys. Talk about that was the California band. I mean, what a great band the Beach Boys were. Good Vibrations. One of my favorite songs of all time.
So, Jordan, two big musicians here at the peak, maybe of their career, maybe not Dennis Wilson quite at this point, but what could go wrong, Jordan? What could go wrong?
You're not wrong. Dennis Wilson kind of was at the peak. This is like post Pet Sounds, I think, even.
Yeah.
Beach Boys. This is after Manson, after his encounter with Manson, where he had to hide from Manson. Anyway, what could go wrong, though? Yes.
What could go wrong? So James Taylor's the driver, and the mechanic of this car is Dennis Wilson. And the car is a 1955 Chevy 150 Coupe. It's a racing car. It's a drag strip car, meaning it's got big tires and a big engine. And it's meant for short bursts.
Did you hear that, Misty?
Yeah, Misty, our friend who loves cars. There'll be a lot of car talk, and this is a car movie. If you're a car buff, you probably already know about this movie. If you like classic cars, this is definitely a film that will keep you interested. So they're racing this 1955 Chevy. And this is what they do. You get the feeling they do this all the time. James Taylor's he's a driver. That's what he does. That's his part of the arrangement. Dennis Wilson's a mechanic, and he fixes the car, constantly talking about the carburetor. They go town to town and just try to win money, and that's their living. They don't really have a home, street racing.
And street racing, like Fast and Furious almost.
Except without Vin Diesel. You know what I mean? That would...
No Vin Diesel, no bald-headed man in this movie. Anywhere in this movie, in fact.
So then the cops show up and break up this race, and then they lose the cops. It's really easy. You get the feeling that they're used to running from cops, too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They can outrun them in their fast car. And so we get some of the credits over shots of that two-lane blacktop. The camera pointed down at the road, and I wonder if Lost Highway sort of borrowed from that.
Oh, the David Lynch movie Lost Highway, yeah.
Yeah. I guess a pretty strong beginning, right? Are you hooked yet, Jordan?
It's full of energy, yeah. It's energetic at the beginning.
Next, they stop at a rest stop. They're changing their tires. They lost $200 in that race. They're down. They're broke. And they only have enough for one.
They're literally Tokyo drifters. I mean, no pun intended.
Yeah.
Fast and Furious, Tokyo drifting. But they're literally just drifting in this movie.
But that's what they are. They're drifters with a car.
Yeah.
And that's exactly right. And so they stop for gas, and then the gas station's attendants sort of gather around. We find out this is a special car. It's got a 454 Chevy block, 4-speed transmission, dual Holley carbs, Misty. And it is meant to do those quick jumps, those quarter-mile quick sprints. And everywhere they go, people are fascinated by this car because it doesn't look like a normal car. It looks like it's made to race. And the car itself was a 10-second car. You know, it was
like it's on steroids, essentially. It's a 50s car on steroids.
Yeah. And they did. I mean, they bought a race car for this movie, pretty much.
Yeah.
So it was a real racer.
I was going to actually throw in that Dennis Wilson, in reality, did love cars. He did used to drag race when he was in the Beach Boys early on, even, because he was the actual guy that they sang about in the Beach Boys more. He did all that stuff more than any of the Beach Boys. So this is not too far from reality. If it looks like he knows what he's doing around these cars, it's for good reason.
Yeah. He knows where the carburetor is.
Yeah.
So anyway, because
On
we
this
hear about
particular
it.
model, I would not if I looked at it.
And then we meet a man. They're on the road, and then a man passes them in a yellow car. He sort of waves at them and just shoots right by them. And then later on, they stop at a diner. They're eating, talking about, hey, we need to make some more money here. And outside the window, a young woman gets out of a hippie van. And what does she do, Jordan?
She just decides to get into a different car that's just parked there in the parking lot. It happens to be these guys' car. She gets into the back of it and just makes herself at home.
Yeah, she just throws her bags in the back of this car.
Like, I'm just going to drift into this car and no questions asked. They'll find me there. They'll be fine with me there. And they don't really do anything. They don't say anything when they find her there.
Yeah. And then the mechanic and the driver get in and start to drive. And they don't say anything to her. This is not a movie with a lot of dialogue to begin with. Right, Jordan?
It's so quiet. Yeah. The only music, in fact, there's no music over the soundtrack. All the music is incidental music, I guess you could call it. It's just music in the background that happens to be playing on the jukebox, the radio, whatever. Yeah. Or
the
on
cars.
a tiny radio.
Yeah,
in the car. But that's it. It's not got any like heavy score over it.
Yeah. And really the driver and the mechanic don't talk to each other about much except the car. You know, that's they don't talk about anything. So they're real quiet.
This movie's almost quiet in the way like a post-apocalyptic movie is quiet. That's the only comparison I can actually make.
Interesting.
Where there's just long spaces in between, long pauses, just sound effects, dialogue. That's it. You know, nothing else.
Until there's a drag race. It's like A Quiet Place until there's a drag race. Okay, and Jordan, that girl is Laurie Bird, the actress Laurie Bird, former model. She's quite young. I think she's a teenager when this movie's being made.
I think this is like the first thing she did, maybe, or was it? Or no?
She was in 3 films, Jordan. What were those movies?
Oh my God, now you're putting me on the spot. I can hear Jeopardy music in the background. Was she in Annie Hall?
Yes. Ding ding.
Okay.
What else?
That's the only one I remember. Dang, what else was she in?
Do you want to phone a friend?
Race with the Devil?
No.
No. Yes, I'd like to use a lifeline, Anthony.
Okay, you may call Dennis Wilson.
Okay.
Hey, Jordan, Dennis Wilson here from the Beyond. How are you? I heard you're trying to remember Laurie Bird's other movie.
Yeah, that's right, Dennis.
Anthony, do you know what the answer is?
Yes, I do know the answer.
Okay.
All right. Well, no. All right, your time is up. The film.
I hear game show shit.
Well, we've got this movie. She was Paul Simon's character's girlfriend, the record producer's girlfriend in Annie Hall, bit part.
That's what it was.
And in Cockfighter as well, again with Warren Oates.
Oh, another Monty Hellman movie, right?
And directed by Monty Hellman. So yeah.
Yeah.
And she actually dated Hellman and later Art Garfunkel.
Oh, wow. Weird. So she was a girlfriend of Simon in one movie and dated Garfunkel in reality.
At the same time. Yeah, isn't that weird?
Wow. It's a Simon and Garfunkel menage a trois going on there. Weird kind of menage a trois.
I know. Anyway. It's very strange, but that's exactly what happened. And then unfortunately she did die by suicide in Art Garfunkel's apartment by taking an overdose of Valium in 1979. So a tragic end.
Okay, I thought something sad had happened to her. That's right.
Yeah, she died young. But
sad.
Then the world was robbed because she's a lot of fun in this movie. And so anyway, so she says she gets in the car, the guy she was riding with kept getting stoned and pulling over. So she's like, you guys will do. So where are you going? So we're going east.
Wow.
Okay.
And she got tired of that. How bad is her? I mean, come on. She's drifting and why wouldn't you just be ready for the next, pulled over and get it and have a joint break?
Because she just wants to keep moving, man. Everybody in this movie just wants to keep moving.
Yeah.
So then that yellow car passes them again.
Yeah.
This time with another hitchhiker. The guy honks and waves. And then they go to what I think is Santa Fe.
Yeah, this movie is all over the place geographically.
Okay, yeah. So we're going west to east. We're starting in California. Then I think they go to Tucson, Arizona, and then they go to Santa Fe at this point. So we're going east.
We go through Oklahoma and Arkansas even at one point later on. Anyway,
spoiler alert.
Is this fair to say this is a road movie, Anthony?
I would say yes. There's a lot of road in it. Yeah, I'd say
Yeah.
they're on the road quite a bit. Mm-hmm.
A lot of blacktop.
A lot of blacktop happening. 2 lanes the whole way. I think they're kind of going on the old Route 66, or at
That's
least
right.
some side streets or something. It's usually in the middle of nowhere. You know what I mean? Wherever they are.
If you have a plan to motor west, take my way, the highway, that's the best. Get your kicks on Route 66. Oh, sorry.
Mhm. Jordan's Karaoke Hour is brought to you by Olympia Beer. Olympia Beer. If you have a movie in the 70s, there better be an Olympia in it.
That's right. And Rolling Rock.
So, what happens when they show up in Santa Fe, Jordan? What happened? What do they do? Or what does
They
she
find
do?
an alien spaceship has crashed there in
Yes.
Roswell.
Mhm.
And then they've got to figure out.
The movie gets interesting for me.
No, I wish that happened. What does happen? I don't remember.
Well, we get what is interesting because this movie has a very stripped down, low budget sort of feel, does it not?
Yeah, totally.
So we get a couple scenes like this where it's hidden camera footage. So Lori Bird gets out of the car, and then she's just going up to tourists in the square with a
Oh, that part. Yeah.
yeah, with
I
you
know
can
what you're
tell with the
talking about.
mic in her bag because her bag's real bloated. That's her purse.
She goes off and just asks for change like a drifter does or something, or like a vagrant does. Yeah, this scene, and it looks real. You can tell, yeah, she's got a hidden mic, and you can tell these people are real.
Yeah.
Because one guy just brushes her off because, guy, I got nothing.
And yeah, slice of life. And she's saying she needs money to catch a bus to San Francisco. And did you know, Jordan, that Monty Hellman really sent her out there to beg for money for the production? The production was
believe
going
it.
over budget.
I
Mhm.
believe it. I believe it. Because Monty Hellman's after that realism.
Maybe in a Roger Corman film.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I just thought that was pretty interesting. I mean, just this, you get a lot of slice of life, like I said, in this film. You get a lot of a feeling of what it really was like to be driving cross country in the 70s or 1971.
And they're taking advantage of things as they go along. They're taking advantage of reality situations as they go along. Or the director, Monty Hillman, is taking advantage of.
Yeah. So they cruise around at a burger stand and they're looking for cars to race. They're looking for a mark, something that they can beat.
Oh, yeah. This scene is why the movie, you can't find it hardly anywhere, because the Doors' Moonlight Drive is playing in the background. They're
Yeah.
playing on the radio in the scene. And I've heard that's why this movie, because they haven't licensed the movie again with the song. So
So they see this older guy, and Missy's got a 32 Ford with a 427 in it, a little hot rod. So then they walk up to him, and Jordan, what is their method for sort of baiting people into races? Like, what do they do?
Oh, they basically insult the way their engine looks.
Yeah.
Yeah, that looks good, but I got something that could do way better.
Yeah.
It's
Not
that
even
kind of-
that direct. It's like they just
Yeah.
sort of fuck with people because James Taylor's like, gee, mister, that sure is something.
Yeah.
And the guy's like, it's a damn sight more better than something. He's like, I bet it can go real fast. He's like, it can go real fucking fast. It can beat your shit. And it's just like sort of,
He plays naive, though. Yeah, essentially.
Yeah. And he says, yeah. And so the guy's like, he said, well, you want to race? He's like, I don't know. I just don't want to race a Chevy against that 2-bit hunk of junk. He's like, or he says, all right, then $50 then. James Taylor says, make it 3 yards, motherfucker. And you have an automobile race.
Yeah.
And I love that line, you know, because I mean, back in the day, I used to say that, you know, just
Mhm.
and
I was gonna say this movie really is like, even before American Graffiti comes out, it kind of predicts muscle cars in the 70s. The rise of like muscle cars and how they get popular in the 70s, because street racing gets more popular in the 70s.
Yeah. That's an interesting comparison to make because this movie is like the dark side of American Graffiti. Opie is
Yeah.
nowhere to be seen. I don't know. American Graffiti is fun. Would you call this movie fun?
Not in the same. No, it's not nostalgic like American Graffiti is. I mean, hell, it's present tense in that and the time it came out. So, but no, this is definitely darker, kind of more existential than American Graffiti.
No, but definitely, there's no Richard Dreyfuss. Like, what is the meaning of life? You know, you
Yeah.
don't get that. It's a terrible Richard Dreyfuss.
There's
but
no
yeah.
Richard Dreyfuss falling for a Suzanne Summers sitting in a souped up car. But yeah, there's nothing like that. Nothing innocent like that in this movie.
So anyway, they race this dude and they win the race and they win $150. Jordan, $150 today, in today's money, and we're recording this in 2024, is $1,169.
Wow. Yeah.
A lot of money.
That's like some people's checks in
I know.
couple of weeks.
So then they get a hotel room. And so they just won $1,000, but almost immediately they're broke again. Like, what are they doing with all this money? Because I mean,
Yeah, that was confusing too. Like, why are they so broke? Like within the next scene later on, you don't see them with any other excess other than cars. You don't see them getting stoned. You don't see them drinking any alcohol at all. In fact,
gas is cheap. I mean, they have a couple of drinks, and I mean a couple drinks, but they don't smoke. Nobody smokes in this movie. Number one.
Yeah, you don't also see them with a hard drug habit like a cocaine or heroin habit. So yeah, where is their money going? They don't even change clothes.
You're right. I bet everyone's except for Warren Oates' character smells really bad in this movie. That's what I was thinking.
I mean, yeah, okay, you see James Taylor with a sweater on later on. That's about it.
He puts his
Dennis
sweater
Wilson wears the same fucking denim shit like through the whole fucking movie.
You're right. You got a point. You know? No, they don't go to a laundromat at any point.
So like they haven't spent their money on clothes even. You know, they're not coming out with flashy clothes after they got the hotel in some montage scene.
And they don't seem to have luggage or anything. You know, they don't have. Yeah, you're right.
They don't even seem to have any luxuries on them of any kind.
Or really, any possessions.
You know? Yeah.
They're characters that are so stripped down to who they are that they don't even have a toothbrush.
Yeah.
So anyway, then they get a hotel room. The girl and the mechanic get it on. While JT, James Taylor, goes and gets a drink at a bar to kind of give him some space. And you get the feeling that this happens a lot.
Yeah, because he just goes up to the hotel and all we hear is the moans from both of them of sex from the outside.
Yeah.
And yeah, I guess, once again, just like Dennis Wilson in reality, Dennis Wilson in the movie always gets the girl before James Taylor does.
Round, round, get around, I get around.
Yeah. Also, I wish Dennis Wilson had done more movies.
Yeah, I think this may have been his only one, really, other than like concert stuff or whatever.
But I feel like he picked up the acting thing easily. He wasn't taught on drums. He picked that up. He just started training himself. Same with guitar and piano. And it's like the same with acting. Like he just picked it up and ran with it.
Yeah.
You know.
And I will say this, going back to the movie, the sex is, we don't get a love scene. We just hear the moans at the door. But
luckily, it's just the moans at the door.
They're getting ready to have sex. They're getting the bed ready. And it's just like the least sexy thing ever. It just seems like we're two characters in a movie and this is what we're doing now. Like on purpose. Like you get the feeling that what is this girl like? Can you describe her? Laurie Bird's character?
She looks like a hippie. She looks like the most hippie-ish in the whole movie. Because she just looks like a flower child. She's dressed like a hippie girl.
What's her personality like?
She just seems like she's open to everything that comes to her. She just takes it all as it comes and runs with whatever, runs away with whatever. I mean, she is like the epitome of she's a drifter herself.
Yeah.
She just doesn't have a car. A free spirit. Just way too free though. Yeah.
Yeah. She's like she's not sleeping with him out of some sense of obligation. It's just kind of like, meh, whatever. We'll have sex with this dude. He's all right
here.
Looking.
Like he's furniture, you know.
Yeah.
I'm going to lay down on him because, he's here.
And the same with him. And then, but you also get the feeling that it's the driver who's drinking by himself in the bar, for a couple drinks.
Oh, yeah, I forget. James Taylor's pretty much the only excessive one drinking. Maybe that's where all the money went, with all him going to these 3 different bars.
Yeah, but he's just going bar to bar, just having. But he has it seems like he has a drink, but still.
But surely he couldn't have spent that much.
Yeah, he didn't spend $1,000. But anyway, so then he sees the guy that he beat at the race earlier fighting with his girlfriend. And she just tells him to fuck off and just walks out of the bar. And then James Taylor kind of gives him this sympathetic glance because this guy lost a race, lost some money, and lost his girl.
Mm-hmm.
And I think what he does is he sympathizes with the dude's loneliness.
Yeah.
We get the feeling the driver's very lonely.
Yeah, that was kind of depressing the way we get that from him drifting from bar to bar.
Not talking to anybody, just
he's like, I'm the third wheel again here.
Yeah. And he goes to the room. They should have had enough time. They're still going at it. He just, sits down by the door and just, So it's kind of sort of depressing. We just get the story, this like a day in the life of these two dudes. There's no real character development other than like who they are, like the driver and the mechanic. Mechanic doesn't give a shit. He probably gets laid. The driver's lonely, and they don't really talk to each other. I don't know.
Yeah.
There's not much here to these characters, right?
Right. They're not really going to change any, we get the feeling.
Yeah.
They're not going to rise to a supervillain status or something, or
Yeah.
you know.
I don't know. Are they going to change drastically by the movie's end? I don't know, Jordan. Are they going to undergo like a huge transformation? I don't know. At this point, we don't know where the movie's going. You know, we have no idea what's about to happen.
We're drifting with the characters, yeah, kind of, I guess.
Yeah.
Which is
Until,
the point, I guess.
Until we get picked up by one of them, so to speak.
Oh, yes.
The yellow car picks up a hitchhiker. It's a 1970 Pontiac GTO, a really badass car. And who drives this car who's picking up a hitchhiker, Jordan?
Kirk Douglas. No, I'm joking.
Kirk Douglas and his... No, Kirk Douglas.
You need a ride? I'm here to just be nice and pick you up. That's all I'm doing. Let me just give you a ride. No, it's Warren Oates, actually, who we talked about in another podcast, Race with the Devil, right? And Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, one of your favorite actors, one of my favorite actors.
Yeah, we talked about that's right. We have 2 episodes. This is our 3rd Warren Oates episode.
Ding, 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 ding.
Our 3 cool Warren Oates episodes.
Big mural of Warren Oates, just big photo of Warren Oates comes down.
Yeah, it just comes down. Yay.
With confetti.
Yay. We're the only people who have ever been excited to talk about Warren Oates. That's not true. So he's like, I bought her in Bakersfield, California, testing jets. Turns out it needs some more action on the ground. Then they came out with the 455 with the Mark IV Ram Air and the Carter High Rise. 300 horsepower and 500 foot-pounds of torque. And he just goes off on this script to this dude, this hitchhiker that he picks up, right?
Yeah.
And we get him saying things like this multiple times in the movie. He just goes off on these spiels and just starts talking.
Mm-hmm.
So describe how this dude is. What is he like? What is Warren Oates' character like?
He's a nice. He dresses cool. He's a nice dresser. He looks like he's well off. I think we kind of get he kind of tells us later on what happened to him.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he comes from. He looks like he doesn't like. I don't know. He looks like he's got money compared to the other guys. He doesn't look like he might be drifting, but he's drifting with money somehow or something.
Yeah. He's got a nice car.
I don't think he's sleeping in his car when he has to. He probably is sleeping in hotels.
Yeah. He's middle-aged. He's got a good car. He's got nice clothes, but he's kind of hip. He's got like a lot of he's got a really great set of tapes, cassette tapes,
an actual cassette player, which was new back then. He wears an ascot, right?
Yeah. He's kind of a hip dude for a middle-aged guy, you know? We get that feeling. But then he's a talker, and certainly he is a drifter as well.
He likes to talk about himself to these strangers a lot. That's what it is, right? I mean,
yeah. So then the hitchhiker asks, why did you leave Bakersfield? And then Warren Oates just pauses for a minute. And Warren Oates, I honestly think, line per line, Warren Oates is one of the best actors of his generation.
Oh, I agree.
In certain films, he didn't have great range, but just for 1 second, he has this great look of pain on his face. And then he's like, hey, snaps right out of it. It's like, you want to hear some music? And then we cut to the, back to the driver and the mechanics working on the car. We cut back to GTO. And then he's like telling the same story again to the hitchhiker, but the hitchhiker's falling asleep. Right?
Yeah.
Because he's heard this shit for who knows how long.
And he's telling about how he killed somebody in Bakersfield.
Yeah.
I killed a man in cold blood right there on the football field in Bakersfield. Nobody there to see me. I buried the body right there on the football field. No, I'm just making.
That would be interesting. Nobody.
Sorry. It's bad.
No, but I mean, so he's boring this guy, and then he sees the Chevy passing him again. And he's like, these guys have followed me across 3 states, and then he honks at him.
Yeah.
And then we cut back and we see in the car, we see the girl complaining about her back and how uncomfortable it is, sitting back there with the tools and stuff. And Dennis Wilson's like, I need to take a look at the rear end. And she's like, nobody's paying attention to my rear end. And but Laurie Bird's acting is very. What do you think about Laurie Bird's acting?
She's like a natural, just like the other actors. At least or at least a natural in the way like Dennis Wilson and James Taylor were. Where she actually comes off real, I think.
Yeah. So
But,
she has a real
no,
natural quality to her. Yeah.
I think what her talent is. She has a real natural quality. Yeah, she is this character kind of. I think.
Mm-hmm.
I believe her as this character.
I know it's kind of inspired casting, isn't it? Because she is very much, and I mean, I read, I think very much that she in real life was a lot like her character.
Yeah, just kind of drifting a bit at that time.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of script they had. Really. Certainly, I don't know what was improvised and what wasn't, but to my understanding, the original script to attribute this, I think I was reading some article, I think it was on the Criterion website, which had a really great background in this.
Mm-hmm.
When Monty Hellman originally got the script, he didn't write this or anything. He was hired to film it. He said it read like the Disney version of the Gumball Rally. He said it was the most insipid, silly, sentimental, dumb movie you could imagine, but it was about a race. And I was attracted to just the idea of a cross-country race. So they took whatever this...
Monty Hellman's like,
sentimental.
I gotta make this all dark, man. There's no happiness here.
There's no happiness in this world.
It's gotta be gloomy in this world, man.
I know. So, I mean, whatever it was about two guys racing and a girl and whatever. And you can imagine what sort of Disney shit that was.
I mean, he said Disney back then. Say no more. I mean, just like
yeah.
I can already imagine it. Like it's like a Disney Cannonball Run,
Yeah, Disney back then meant like a young Kurt Russell. Like there was a chimp in the movie. Like there was a cat that was talking, or something silly like that. That's what he meant. Like it was just like the schmaltziest
clean-cut
thing.
drifters racing everywhere they go.
But they're racing, but they donate most of their money to charity.
Yeah.
Or something. Or they're racing for their sick sister.
And they're in a VW Herbie car. Souped up VW.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, probably. It was. Can you imagine Monty Hellman directed the Herbie, the Love Bug movies? Like,
yeah. If Lori Bird's character thought this car was uncomfortable, that car would have been way uncomfortable.
That would have been hilarious. I would have paid money, like, whenever she, like, instead of getting into this car, she's in the parking lot and there's Herbie the Love Bug and she just gets into that car. Or she gets into Herbie and then it's like, fuck this, and then gets into, the 55.
Don Knotts is playing the GTO type character, playing the Warren Oates character.
Yeah. Not so that I needed some more action on the ground. That's when they came out with oh my God.
I'm sorry, you look like you needed a ride. I pulled over my car.
Gee, Andy. All right. Anyway, enough with the.
Okay, that's our worst Don Knotts, I guess. Yeah. Mine wasn't much better. My Don Knotts wasn't much better than your Don Knotts.
So this is when the movie picks up, though, Jordan. Warren Oates is at the gas station. Warren Oates, who heretofore shall be known as GTO.
Yes.
The Chevy pulls up. The hitcher goes to the bathroom. Lori Bird finds the hitcher in the girl's bathroom, which is just a non sequitur weirdness.
Wait, Rutger Hauer, C. Tommy Hal hitcher?
No.
Is that what you're saying?
No, the hitchhiker.
Wrong movie. Sorry.
The chubby hitchhiker with the cowboy hat and glasses in this movie.
Wouldn't that have been cool if this movie had like a weird hitchhiker? I'm sorry.
Hey, don't try to cool up this movie, Jordan. It's already cool.
I'm sorry. No, it's cool. It's cool.
But I love it. It's almost like the hitchhiker. He comes back to the car as Warren Oates is talking to these two dudes and saying like, "Hey, you've been following me across 3 states." So the hitchhiker just he's like, "I don't want any more of this." He just goes in, grabs his briefcase from the car and just walks out to the road and starts hitching. Nobody notices him. Nobody cares.
I forgot about that guy. Oh my God.
He's just like, and scene, my role in this movie's over. I'm going to move on. I love that little touch. I don't know why. Nobody notices him, and Warren Oates is talking, and he just grabs his shit and leaves. And Warren Oates he's like, "I don't like being crowded." James Taylor's like, "Well, I don't recall you. Of course, there's a lot of cars like yours on the road." And then that's when like punch and jab.
I know. Were they really following him though? I mean, they, or is he just
no.
really is he just an attention seeker here?
I think he is. I think he's just sort of prodding them. And I don't want to go too deep into this now, but I mean, they're just, in my mind, fate is bringing them together because I've seen this film. It's
He's
like,
obviously a lonely character. That's why he picks up hitchhikers so freely. It's because even though he just wants to talk about himself to these hitchhikers, you know.
and he tries to connect with these people he picks up and he can't. And I
Yeah.
think just he's trying to antagonize these two dudes just because something to do, I guess. And maybe in a weird way he sees that, hey, we're going the same way, you know?
I was just confused by it again, but that was, I guess, my brain kicking in and analyzing it, psychoanalyzing it, basically. he's seeking attention.
Yeah, I think he is in reality, and screenwriting terms, and in this universe, I think he sees something he can connect with them.
Yeah.
Or he's looking for that. He's prodding everybody to see if they will give him that attention, if they will validate him, if they will give him whatever he's lacking.
These are like characters, obviously. They both love cars,
Yeah.
probably. He probably sees himself in these young guys.
So, yeah, James Taylor steps away, and Dennis Wilson's looking at the car. And Warnotes is like done with his drink. He's got gas. And he gets out of the car, and then he gets back in the car, and he gets back, and he's just like, he doesn't know whether to leave or to go. He wants to engage them again. You know, it's like
Yeah.
they blew him off, and now he's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know why he doesn't just get in his car and leave. He's like stuck there.
End of movie. Bam.
Yeah, end of movie. Then we get a short scene with James Taylor and Laurie, and James Taylor says, I've seen fire and I've seen rain. I've seen pages of dialogue I thought would never end. And so he was...
That's good. That's good. Spot on.
Sorry. That's what you get in this episode. This is not a funny movie.
We have to throw jokes in here a lot. Yes.
And they talk about cicadas and how they, I don't know. He's like, yeah, and the cicadas, and they're underground, and then they, after 15 years, they dig out and then they fucking die. And, it's the most depressing shit. But this is where the non-acting shines, right? The lack of conversation is key to this scene. Like, he's nervous around girls.
Yeah.
And she's just a free spirit who doesn't have time for anyone's bullshit.
He's like cicadas. Yeah, you ever seen the Hellstrom Chronicles? It's a movie about bugs taking over the earth. Yeah.
They're going to take over.
They're going to take over. You want to go see the Hellstrom Chronicles? It's playing at the drive-in.
And then she's like, you bore me. Which is what women tell me when I ask them if they want to watch the Hellstrom Chronicle. Look it up. Anyway, but I mean, and she says that you bore me. And so he's making an attempt because the mechanic in her head didn't really have any real connection, I don't think.
They didn't have to talk. They just, they just did it.
Yeah. And now James Taylor's kind of, I guess, falling for her. I don't know. Something.
He's falling for her personality.
Yeah.
Whereas the mechanic fell for something different.
So the girl just gets in GTO's car. Again, he's prodding them and she's prodding him. And it's just like, what are you about? She's trying to, get in his car. And then so he's like, where'd you get the car? He says, I won it in Vegas playing cards. And so we get another version of his story. I don't know. He's a pathological liar. And I think he's one of the most unique characters in all of film history, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's lying about a lot of his shit too, or at least embellishing a lot of his stories.
And you don't know what's true. And so you have to parse through all the shit he says to find out what maybe the truth is. Maybe there's a little bit of truth in each lie, but you don't exactly know what he's running from and what he's doing because you keep getting all these different stories. And that's one of the most interesting things I think about the film.
Yeah, he's just telling tall tales.
Yeah.
Telling tall tales.
And I think Warnotes kind of carries the movie because of that. He has as much personality as the other two are lacking. He has twice as much. He has too much personality. In a way.
I think the other two characters are almost like, they are like serious gearheads or serious motorheads, as they say.
Mm-hmm.
They're just all about, they live, eat, and sleep and breathe automobiles. I think that's what it is maybe with them.
They have no real personality, nothing to offer.
It's almost like, I almost wonder if they have autism, kind of.
Yeah, they're hyper focused on that and nothing else.
Because they're just so focused on the gears, the mechanics of a car. They're more in love with the car stuff than anything still. Yeah, mechanic, the mechanic might have slept with the girl, but still, his love is that car right there outside.
Yeah. I don't know if the credited writer, Ralph Wurlitzer.
Oh, Rudy Wurlitzer?
Yeah, I was thinking like autism.
I'm saying that in modern terms diagnosis,
No, I know.
I mean, my kid has autism and I might have it, so.
But,
Well, luckily you can flex your autism superpower for this podcast, Jordan.
yeah, you might want to
Thank
cut the part where I said I might have it, but my kid does have it.
I
and,
think
like,
regular listeners. No, I'm just kidding. No, go ahead.
But Ryan Gosling's character in Drive, they later said was like that, and he kind of just is the same way, where he eats, sleeps, and breathes cars and his stunt work, and that's it. You know, kind of hyper focused on it.
Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say Ryan Gosling's character in The Fall Guy was hyper focused on anything other than making a cheap cash in. No, I'm kidding. That's fun. Anyway,
I have not seen The Fall Guy.
You missed nothing. Back to Two-Lane Blacktop, already in progress.
Another episode. Anyway.
So, Warnote steps out of the car. Lori Bird's character's still in there. James Taylor kind of comes up to her, and he says, looks like we have a squirrel to run. And then, Jordan, what happens?
What happens there? Wait, I forgot. I'm sorry.
They want a race. James Taylor says, hey, man,
you want
a
cross-country race?
Yeah. To where? Where are they going?
What did they say? I forgot all this part, though.
So James Taylor's like, let's race. He's like, all right. And then he's like, where to? Warren Oates' character says, Washington, D.C. And James Taylor's like, okay. And right as he says that, like, they both are like, shit, Washington, D.C. That's a long way away from.
Because they want it's a long race. That's what I do remember. It's like a long race trek kind of thing.
Yeah. Like they're in like New Mexico, Texas. There's some fucking place. It's a long way from Washington,
They're far
D.C.
west by comparison. Yeah.
Yeah. So then Dennis Wilson's character is like, we're going to race for pinks. It means titles. They put the titles in the mail. We're going to send it to DC General Delivery. The first person there waits for their car to show up. And then the mechanic just gets a map and he just draws a line across the United States. This is the route. And I heard, Jordan, that the Cannonball Runs, they were based on this movie to some degree. The guy who started that.
That makes sense. Yeah. That makes sense that it's essentially a cross-country race.
Yeah.
The same deal, but only it's more than two cars on the other movies, obviously, later on. But you know, that Smokey and the Bandit did the same thing.
It was kind of like foreshadowing because there is a point where Warren Oates like picks up Dom DeLuise. He's like, oh,
how you doing? I'm so glad you picked me up. You want to smoke this? That was my bad Dom DeLuise. Okay.
Anyway, I cued you for a bad Dom DeLuise impression, Lord. The only podcast that does bad Dom DeLuise impressions.
And even Burt Reynolds shows up. No.
We should call the podcast Dated and Irrelevant. Anyway, so speaking of which,
took my Dated and Irrelevant podcast.
So anyway, to show how like on location they were, there's some real Navajo men that were just sitting at the gas station. So I guess they're in Arizona or wherever, New Mexico.
New Mexico, yeah, maybe.
And they're just sitting at the gas station. And I remember when I listened to the commentary so many years ago, Monty Hellman was like, yeah, these dudes were just sitting at the gas station, so we just filmed them. Like, they didn't speak any English, and we just filmed them. You know, didn't pay him $1.
It's funny, too, like, he didn't get any of these people to sign release forms, like, not even the surveillance footage he shot with Lori Bird asking the people for money, acting like a panhandler. How did he get around that?
Because you could back then. This was guerrilla filmmaking, I think a lot of this was.
Because when I name drop worked on cheaters, you had to blur faces so they wouldn't sue you in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
Because they could do that. They'd be like, I didn't give you permission to shoot me.
Yeah. Lawyers were invented between 1971 and 1991, Jordan.
True. I mean, but then again, you know, when they made Dolomite, they just blew up a car in the Hollywood Hills and left it there. Left it on the side of the road.
Yeah. Sounds about right. So anyway, I love this. So the driver's going to drive the whole way. Just to make it fair. So there's some sense of honor here. And Lori, you know, because obviously there's two of them and then one of him. So if they switched out, they could drive all night and win the race. But that's not what it's about.
Yes.
So Lori, the girl, begins to massage him as they're driving. And he's just like, you know, get your hands off me pretty much. She's like, well, you're a little tense. He's like, I like it that way. And so he like pushes her off now that they're focused on the race, right? Mm-hmm. Then GTO picks up a hitchhiker. Warren Oates' character picks up a hitchhiker. And Jordan, we've talked about this gentleman before. Who does he pick up?
It's Mark Singer. No, I'm joking. It's Harry Dean Stanton.
It's Harry Dean Stanton, the great one.
Credited as H.D. Stanton. I love it. But yeah, we talked about him on, we talked about him when we interviewed our friend Hunter Carson. We talked about how he worked with H.D. Stanton on Paris, Texas. When we talked to John Binder, we talked about Harry Dean, how he worked with Harry Dean on that movie Euphoria with Fred Ward and Cindy Williams. And yeah, I mean,
man, just I don't know. Harry Dean Stanton, friend of the podcast. he's no longer living, but
he made another my God, he just haunts our podcast. I love it. Please haunt us, Harry Dean.
And so
he even made a cameo in the background in Race of the Devil. I mean, with Warren Oates again.
Yeah, he's everywhere. So then GTO says I'm racing a Chevy cross country, and Detroit set it up. So he's got this other lie now.
Yeah.
Now he's got something new to lie about. He's obviously it's not a car maker did not set this up. He just met these two dudes and now they're just racing.
After I'm done with these two dudes, I'm going to Monaco to race.
Yeah, it's like some shit like all this. I love how he's just seamless with his lies. And then what is Harry? I
was just
Dean
trying to think of the next biggest race you could think of to lie about.
Exactly. So then, what does Harry Dean try to do, Jordan?
He puts his hand on his leg.
Yeah, and he says, I ain't into that. It's like a perfect Warren Oates line.
He lets him know real quick.
I ain't into that.
But he's polite about it. He just says, I ain't into that.
And then it just starts raining, and I think the production was caught in rain because there's a few more scenes are just in straight up rain. Like the girl's trying to pee, and then the driver is like, hey, you need to hurry up. And she's out there peeing under this bush, and he just starts going. She's like, you're going to fucking leave me, asshole. And he's like, whatever. It's all about the race.
They passed Francis Coppola's crew, still making the rain people at that time.
I know they do.
Still on the road.
We see that later, yeah.
No, just making that up. So that was actually Rain People was before this movie, actually.
Yes, it was actually.
Yes, it was. Anyway, it was shot same time Easy Rider. Anyway,
so GTO gets pulled over by the cops, and so he's sitting there for speeding, and then James Taylor stops the car. He gets out. He walks up to the cops, and he's like, hey, this guy almost ran us off the road a while back, and it was like he scared my wife to death. And so the cops are like, oh, I see, okay. And then Warren Oates is like, what the fuck, dude? And so he's like, do you need me to make a statement or anything, officers? And they're like, no, we got him.
It's a ploy to slow him down more, right?
Well, I mean, you think that, but then like he gets in his car and he just like he just pulls wheels and just like launches.
Yeah.
And you're just like, the cops are like, what the fuck? He's burning rubber, and the cops are like, what the hell's going on? And then GTO catches up to him. He's like, hey, I had to tell them my wife is having twins across the state line, and they let me go. And then Laurie Bird's like, congratulations.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of funny non sequitur lines in this movie. I think there's some humor.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, I agree.
And Warren Oates is great. He's like, don't put me on.
Warren Oates is fun to watch in this movie. I mean, yeah, he's kind of, sometimes he's the comic relief, honestly, yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
Dare I say. But just like he's fun to watch in every movie, I mean, especially here.
Yeah, there is a sort of a comedy to Warren Oates in the sense that his character is always getting pissed off about things, and it's funny to watch him get pissed off.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, unless that's just where we're looking for the humor. It's just we're looking at him to laugh because we're looking for a place to laugh.
We're like, please, anything.
Please, tell some more stupid stuff, Warren Oates.
We haven't laughed since he dropped off Dom DeLuise.
I thought Dennis Wilson was going to be funnier in this movie.
No. But, I mean, JT says, hey, we're all in this together, dude. So there's like honor among thieves here.
Yeah. There's a loyalty amongst these guys.
Yeah, it's like we're in this together. What good does it do us to just fucking win this and be a bunch of assholes, you know?
Yeah.
And then so Warren Oates is like, okay, let's have a truce. He opens up a briefcase full of liquor and drugs, and it reminds me of
Oh, it's the back of his he opens the back of his car, the back of his trunk.
Yeah.
And he's got like a little open bar, a little mini bar right there.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty neat.
It reminds me of Hunter S. Thompson's suitcase in Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. It's like it's got uppers, downers, sidewaysers. It's got like whichever any way you want to go.
Oh, that's right. He says that too. Yeah, he's got everything in there, not just liquor. Yeah, pills, all kinds of drugs too. Yeah,
it's a party right there.
Up, down, sideways if you want. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4 dimensions if you want. 5 dimensions.
Then they drink to each other's destruction, and they sort of bond for a minute. But then GTO starts again with his same.
They pass a bottle around, and Lori Bird hands him a hard-boiled egg, right?
Yeah,
Like, that's all they have to offer him is a hard-boiled egg.
Yeah, and then GTO says, "I'm scouting locations for a movie. It's like about car drivers and blah blah blah."
Oh, that's right. He's a TV producer.
TV producer. And JT just smells. He just sees right through this bullshit, and he just like walks away. He's like, "Fuck this, dude."
Definitely another lie.
But then GTO gets in the car with the girl, and he's like, "Hey, those guys aren't for you. They only care about cars. You need to ride with me. We'll go down to Florida and we'll whatever, live it up."
Yeah. We'll go live in another movie.
Yeah, we've got another depressing 70s movie to be in about an older man and a much younger woman living in Florida.
We'll go live a boring life in a different movie in Florida.
It's going to be 92 in the Shade starring Warren Oates and Lori Bird.
We'll go down to Texas and we'll open a mechanic shop, and then we'll discover a cult later on with another couple.
Race
and
bikes.
Peter Fonda will be my best friend there.
Whatever happens, Peter Fonda's going to be in the next movie. I promise you. Whatever it is.
There's hope on the horizon.
So anyway, she's like, "Not now. Let me think about it." But she's like, "But you're probably going to lose the race anyway." And then she like kisses him, which is real awkward. Like she's hedging her bets. She's planting the seeds. Like if I'm going to ditch these two dudes, I might ride with you. So she's like sort of stringing him along.
I mean, this dude's obviously more well off than these other two greasers.
Yeah, but he's kind of old. I don't know.
Yeah, but he's kind of old. Yeah, that's the other ick factor.
So, romantic advice for people in movies, Jordan. What would you tell Lori Bird's character at this point in the movie?
Just girl, do you have a GED? I mean, you need to go get your GED. You just need to get a job. Just get out into the real world. You need to find Mr. Right. You just need to quit drifting, girl. Or just, you know what? You need to hook up with somebody who's well-to-do. Maybe that's all you need to do.
Yeah.
That's the worst advice ever. I don't know what to tell you.
I know. I mean, yeah, but she just needs to stop getting in randos' cars, I think.
Yes, just stop getting in random cars. The next car you end up in might be the end of your life with the next man. Might be a serial killer. You might end up in the wrong movie, sweetheart.
You could end up in a serial killer movie with Warren Oates and Peter Fonda as serial killers.
That's right. And there was nothing worse than ending up in a 70s horror film, and that's what's going to happen to you in the next scenario, girlfriend.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre your ass. That's
right.
What could happen.
There's going to be a drill killer.
So it's going to be the last house on the right. I don't know. It's going to be something.
The last house down the lane next to the left.
One block over to the left. Take a right. There's this big tree. You can't miss it. So anyway, so the mechanic's like looking at GTO's car, and he's like, "Hey, you need your carburetor fixed. You're not going to make it another 50 miles here." And so Warren Oates like gets in the car with JT, and then the mechanic Dennis Wilson's driving his car to the next town, and then so they begin to race. I love this. They begin to like race. It looks real. It looks like they're really racing. And of course, the Chevy just blows the doors off the GTO just because it's not a drag car. And GTO is in the car with James Taylor, and he's like, "Everything fell apart. My wife, kids, family, my job as a television producer." And JT's like, "I don't want to hear about it, man. It's not my problem."
Yeah, that cracked me up, actually. "I don't care to hear about it. It's not my problem."
Like, damn,
That's what he tells him. No empathy at all. Not even.
He's trying to connect with him, and he finally finds somebody he thinks he can connect with. And then, was that the truth, Jordan? Do you think that was the truth, or was he testing jets? Like, do we know?
I think the truthful part is that he left his wife.
Yeah.
Of that story.
Mm-hmm.
Not that she left him. I think he left her. Maybe that's what it was.
Do you think he was a television producer, or?
That I kind of question. Yeah, I kind of question whether he was a TV producer or not. Maybe he's trying to make himself sound better than he is.
Probably less glamorous.
Because why is he drifting if he's just a TV producer like that? Is he really location scouting? Come on.
Yeah.
It's got to be less glamorous than that. The reality. His reality has to be less glamorous for sure. Anyway.
I mean, does he even know at this point? I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, is he so wrapped up in his lies that, I mean, if you asked him, could he tell you?
Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think he's a pathological liar, though.
Mm-hmm.
Something ugly obviously happened, though. Whatever he left his wife over, something ugly must have happened.
Yeah. He's running from.
Yeah, that he's running from, that he doesn't want to talk about. That's so traumatic. Anyway.
So anyway, they arrive in town. The mechanic's stealing a license plate, to put on the Chevy because he's like, I get nervous in this part of the country. And he's like, because they shot those dudes from Easy Rider around here.
You heard about what happened in that other movie, right? Is what Dennis Wilson tells him. Yeah, that Easy Rider movie, the Hicks shot them.
Dennis Hopper got killed in that movie. They don't like Dennis's in this part of the country.
Yeah. And also, this gas station, once again, it looks like it looks post-apocalyptic, like they're just in this dying town.
Yeah.
Which you do find in my grandparents used to live in a town like that in Texas that was just dying, where you'd walk out and it looked like nobody was there. It looked apocalyptic.
True. They see a lot of these small towns that look like they're dying even back then.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, this is early in the morning, so they're waiting for the mechanic shop to open up. The town is asleep.
Yeah.
Anyway, JT notices that the girl is gone and drives down the road to find her, and she finally gets in. And we get the feeling like they're in this together, right? Finally. Mm-hmm. And he wants her to be there. And he shows her how to drive his car, shift the gears, right? So he puts his hand on her hand, and they have this sort of moment that's this clumsy romantic moment, I think intentionally so.
Yeah, it's a nice moment, Jack.
Yeah. And then she asked if this is a game. He said, not yet. Not yet. I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And then they kiss, and they probably did it. Because later on we see him with the back of his shirt's all sweaty. And
they did it.
I don't know. His sweater's gone. So I don't know. Do you think they hooked up?
Yeah, I think that was their way of doing it. I mean, he's just his approach is different from Dennis Wilson, I guess. His game is different.
Yeah. He's got the long con.
He's got to talk to the people before he sleeps with them. Obviously, that's the difference between him.
Do you think he likes her? Does he really like her and expect something here?
See, I have a hard time believing that too. Like that he actually cares about her that much. And no, I don't. No, why do they seem like they care here and then later on? Anyway.
Okay, so
see what this movie's done to me.
I know. Relationship advice for people in movies. Driver, dude, this lady is like a level 9. Okay, you need like a level 2. You can't handle this chick, man.
Yeah, dude, you are one mellow motherfucker. You can't handle a woman with a high energy level.
Yeah. Yeah.
You need a woman that would match your energy level, buddy.
You are too insecure to handle this lady who's just going to hop around to whomever. She's going to break your heart. She's going to move on and break your heart, dude.
You need the quiet, stone hippie girl from another movie. From Easy Rider.
Yeah. You need one of the hookers from Easy Rider.
You want one of the quiet stone girls from Angel, Angel, Down We Go. That might be more your speed.
How dare you, Jordan? How dare you? Why did you bring that movie up?
Because, Anthony, you made me watch it. You made me watch that movie years ago, and I can't forget. I cannot forget, Anthony.
One of the worst movies ever.
So now you must remember it forever. Jordan Christopher starring in Angel, Angel, Down We Go.
Damn it. One of the worst movies ever. We should watch that on this podcast.
I don't know why I brought that movie up. I'm sorry. I should forget about that movie as well.
Guys, don't look it up. Anyway.
Roddy McDowall was in that movie, shockingly. I'm sorry. Anyway.
It was shocking. Well, no. Roddy McDowall turned down a script. That would be shocking.
That's true.
Anyway, so the mechanic shows up to the shop and he's like, I don't like these long hair, whatever. So he calls the cops, right? And GTO is like passed out. And then they put him in the car and then they just like, oh shit, the cops show up. So they get in the cars and they split up to lose the cops.
Yeah.
And they're going to meet elsewhere. And so then JT goes and buys a carb rebuild kit for GTO's car while GTO is passed out.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Then they go to this cafe in Arkansas.
That's where we are in this movie already. Like, we're already in Arkansas. Damn. And it looks like Arkansas.
The sign says, Land of Opportunity, Arkansas. I was like, really? Okay.
Oh, that's before it was the natural state, I guess.
Before it was the natural state. They're like, well, there's no opportunity, so we might as well lean in on the trees. So I love Arkansas, actually.
Yes. Been there, lived there.
Been there, done that.
We both lived there at one point.
Both lived there.
It's a pretty state. Nothing against Arkansas. We both lived there. Pretty state. Love the Ozark area especially.
Yes. Anyway, so GTO, they left, I guess, GTO, and he wakes up, finds him gone. He just motors down the road and finds him in the cafe. He's like, did you fix my car? Are we still in this race? What's going on here?
Yeah, and they don't even look at him when he walks into
Yeah.
this cafe. Like, they look like they're just in their conversation still. The
Yeah.
only one acknowledging him is Laurie Bird, like right in the middle of it.
Yeah. And they tell him, like, hey, we're broke. We need to find some money. Jordan, like 2 days ago, they just won $1,100, right? Like, what have they, hamburgers? 3-4 drinks that James Taylor had? A hotel?
Yeah, we didn't even get like a Menendez brothers looking shopping spree montage in between. No, not at all. To explain where the money went. No, not at all. The money's just gone. We blew it, man. Like, to quote Easy Rider once again. We blew it. That's the only way to explain it, I guess.
That $6 carburetor kit was the last of the money. Like, oh, what the heck?
That's what it was, man. Was that what it was? They spent it all for that poor guy's carburetor?
Look, these guys are not financial whizzes.
Is that what Menches these guys were?
Yeah, that's the thing, is they bought the kit and installed it for GTO's car while he was passed out. And that's why he's like, are we still even racing? What the hell's going on here? Like,
yeah.
It's so interesting. They could be so far ahead right now. They could practically have won the race if they weren't fucking around with all this and fixing his car. The whole reason they went to town was to help fix his car. They lost a whole day or half a day, helping him fix his car.
We've also lost 5 minutes of a movie of screen time fixing this fucking car.
We've lost more than 5 minutes. We lost about a third of the movie fixing his
30
car.
minutes fixing this damn car of screen time we've lost.
But I love this scene. There's so many scenes that I love in this movie. And this is like, so they're in this cafe in Arkansas, right? Mm-hmm. And then that's when Laurie Bird is doing the off-key singing, going to the jukebox. And this young redneck dude comes to the cafe, just gets up, turns a chair around, sits down at their table, kind of.
Oh, yeah. Where y'all headed?
Yeah. He's just looking for trouble. He's looking to kick some hippie ass and raise some hell. He's just like...
We're heading to Tennessee. Tennessee's a piss poor state if I ever knew of it.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about, this scene?
Yeah, exactly.
He reeks of just Arkansas redneck.
Yeah, and he's just like looking for trouble with these outsiders.
Yeah.
He's like, you're not from around here, are you? And then GTO jumps in. He's like, you know what? These two boys are racing that car out there, and I'm their manager. We're here in town looking for a race. There's a big racetrack around here. And Redneck's like, oh, yeah, well, we got a local track with some cars that'll probably blow doors off yours.
Yeah.
And then what does he ask, Jordan? What is
this line? I remember this, and I love the way Dennis Wilson reacts when he says this in this scene, because it looks like Dennis Wilson's kind of breaking character a bit. But he says, say, you boys don't happen to be hippies, do you? Flat out.
Yeah.
Like, as if he's trying to ask him if they're gay or straight or something, or if they're black or white. I don't know. Or it's like
who's going to own up to being a hippie?
And the way Dennis Wilson looks at him is this slight grin. It just is adorable, in my opinion. He's like trying not to laugh when he's clearly trying not to laugh when he says that.
Because these guys, I don't think they're hippies. I don't think they have any sort of belief system. They're just car nuts. That's all they do.
Being drifters, no, they're not. Clearly, one of them likes to drink. One of them likes sex. That's about it. You don't see them smoking weed ever. You don't see them doing blow or shooting up heroin or.
Yeah, they have long hair, but it's 1971.
You don't even see them popping pills in the Vanishing Point way. No.
Or smoking cigarettes. Like I said, nobody. No.
Yeah.
Nothing.
They don't even smoke cigarettes. They like to eat and drink. You see them eating breakfast. They're
breakfast junkies. That's where the $1,000 went. Lush breakfasts, lavish breakfasts.
It's from eating at all them diners.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, travel's expensive. Yeah, So anyway, GTO says, no, we're not hippies. This is Travis, and this is his brother, and that's his wife over there. We know how to really keep it together, if you know what I mean. And I love that fucking line because...
Yeah, and they're just like local. They're just like local folk.
Good old boys, just like you,
boys. Just like you. Yeah, the way Warren Oates talks his way out of this.
Warren Oates shifts into gear, and for once the line kind of services them and kind of gets them out of that jam. It's like, all right, all right.
The only thing you'd make you think these guys were hippies was their hair. But that's the beauty, too.
Yeah.
Dennis Wilson obviously did like to smoke marijuana and drink outside this movie, and so did Warren Oates and other things as well. They these guys like to do a lot of other things outside this movie, but clearly in this movie, that's the beauty of it. And James Taylor counted in there as well. But that's what shows them as great actors. I believe them as gearheads in this movie, or motorheads more in this movie. I don't believe them as hippies in it, Definitely
Yeah.
they're not hippies.
They're not really. No, they're not hippies at all. Talking about that, man, I would have loved. I'd love to have a drink with Dennis Williams, Dennis Wilson, James
He play
Taylor.
football? No.
Yeah, I know. He played for the Packers back in '97. It was, wide receiver.
Oh, can you imagine, like off camera, how much these guys were partying? I mean,
Yeah. Like, I mean, well, I presumably, but I think that, I mean, they're all serious actors. Well, I don't know, serious actors, but I mean, just to be a fly on the wall, having a drink with these guys, smoking some weed, that would be just so cool. I bet this was a really fun shoot.
I used to be Facebook friends name dropping with Monty Hillman.
What?
Our friend Hunter said he got to meet him before he died, but I didn't get to meet him like that. But I asked him what Dennis Wilson was like, and he said the same thing, though. He said pretty much in your Criterion DVD. He said Dennis was the most unaware actor I ever worked with. He said he was just completely unaware of the camera, meaning what that means is he wasn't mugging for the camera. He wasn't, you got to have a close-up on me, look at my pretty face. You need a close-up here. He's not doing that.
Yeah.
In his mind or in front of the director. He just was like, I'm here. He was easy to direct, apparently, too. He wasn't like a diva or anything like that.
And he doesn't flub his lines. Like James Taylor flubs a lot of lines, and they kind of left it in,
Yeah.
Laurie Bird, too. But Dennis Wilson doesn't seem to really have that problem. Natural actor.
There's one point where he laughs talking to Warren Oates, and I think he's kind of flubbed it a little bit. It's adorable, once again, I think, kind of.
Yeah, they left all this in. I don't know. But you know what I heard? It was the fact that the finished cut, they were supposed to deliver like 2 hours or something like that. And they had like a 3-hour film here.
Which is, the running time for this movie is an hour and 42 minutes, essentially, right now, as stands.
Yeah. But can you imagine another hour and a half of this movie almost? Like
maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's, I would have been intrigued to see what was left in.
Yeah, and I read that Monty Hellman liked these long drawn out sort of scenes and let the dialogue breathe and what have you. And so it would just been I don't know. He said a lot of good stuff in an article I read was left on the floor. And I think that could have fleshed the movie out a little bit more, but it would have been a much longer film, I think. So I don't know.
That would have been, because I think the pacing already with this movie is slow as even at an hour and 42 minutes. So maybe that was the problem, was the pacing being slow. All that stuff left in, it might have seemed like it was 4 hours long or 5 hours long.
But that makes you cling to the dialogue that you have. The very little dialogue that you have, it makes it all the more important. So that's why I love that scene when Warren Oates says, "We know how to keep it together."
Yeah.
I think like they are a family at this point.
I thought that too, when he says that. I'm like, oh, they kind of are like a family. You can kind of see a portrait here of them.
Yeah.
He's the father. These are the 2 kids. These are the 3 kids.
Yeah.
Really, maybe Laurie Bird's the mother figure, the maternal figure at least.
I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know whether you like it or not, honestly.
The mother's going to leave.
The maternal figure, of this movie at least, of the spirit of this movie.
The drunken, negligent mother of this film.
She hops from car to car.
The mother has one too many wines with the ladies, with the friends at the country club or whatever.
She got a thing for guys with hot rods, okay?
Yeah. So we have to cling on to this dialogue, and I really like that scene because I think it speaks a lot to what's going on in their minds. And so we're driving down the road. The driver refuses to let a car pass because he's so focused, and he almost hits these 2 cars that are wrecked on the road and almost kills them. Drives off the road. And we see one man is bloodied on the road. So all this is foreshadowing. And the guy's like, I mean, he tried to pass me. He tried to pass this other car, and I didn't see him. I was coming around the curb. And so it's like this message. It's this metaphor. Their life on the road. And GTO even warned them. He's like, you guys are going to burn out or whatever, And this message of like the road and all this aimless wandering is going to catch up to you.
Like the road's going to kill you.
The guy who got killed in the auto wreck was doing exactly the same thing James Taylor was doing right before they came up to that wreck. Yeah. So it's all like coming together here. And then Warren Oates picks up a hippie and he's just telling him this whole thing. Well, I used to blah, blah, blah. And the hippie's like, I don't want to hear it, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, what do you mean?
We're going to die in 30 years anyway, aren't we?
Yeah, what do we got? 30, 40 years? What does it matter, man? All that bullshit.
Yeah, he's this fatalistic hippie. Not very optimistic.
The fatalistic hippie. Do-do-do-do-do.
That was a sitcom back then, 1971.
Peace, love, man. Fuck you, man.
The networks were trying hard then. They were really trying hard for the youth audience. Every week tune in to see the fatalistic hippie, the hippie who's not optimistic.
That's his catchphrase. What does it matter, man?
That's how he starts with everything. Everything you ask him. Hey, do you like Mexican food? What does it matter, man? We're all going to die in 30, 40 years. Well, no, I'm just asking you what you want to eat for dinner. How about Chinese? What does it matter, man? Everything's going to kill you.
The neighbor's like, you gonna bring my lawnmower back? It's like, what does it matter, man?
What does it matter, man, if I forget tomorrow? I'm gonna die anyway.
I don't want to hear it, man. So anyway, the hippie's like, let me out. He's the first person to say just straight up, let me out.
Yeah, out of all the guest rides that he's given throughout this movie, I mean, he's such a nice guy, such a mensch, giving everybody a ride.
But this hippie's in the middle of like Arkansas or some shit, like just down the road from wherever like those dudes are going to beat them up. So I don't know. This is a brazen hippie.
He's very fatalistic. Obviously, he wants to be killed by rednecks in Arkansas. Clearly, so let him, Anthony.
He wants the easy rider treatment.
I mean, let him Warren. Yeah, he wants the easy rider death. He craves it.
All that he wanted was to be free.
He wants to get killed by William Shatner in The Intruder.
Yeah, that's it. Anyway. So he gets out and goes into another movie and gets killed. And then GTO picks up this old woman who's like, go into a graveyard where my grandparents, her granddaughter's parents were killed by a city car driven by out-of-towners.
Oh, yeah. Was this little girl, I guess, Monty Hellman's little girl, I guess?
Was it? Oh, I don't know.
Or I don't know. Her relative, it says. Maybe it says little girl. I think her last name was Hellman.
Maybe. Anyway, they all go to this drag strip, and there's a lot of and this is in Memphis, and a lot of real professional cars are running. Like, when I say professional, I mean, it's like you've got the name of the car on the side of it, it's like Bob Willis's,
Yeah, and you see smoke from all the rubber and gas burning.
Yeah. So there's a lot of fun racing shots if you're into that sort of thing. But Lori, like much of the audience, is bored. Her character, the girl's bored. She's walking around. And so she gets into GTO's car and talking to him. This race organizer says, hey, that little Chevy's not even going to qualify for these races. So we're like, oh, shit. So they need money, and they're here in the big leagues, presumably. And it's a little moment of tension. You're like, uh-oh, what's going on here? And then JT comes up and says, hey, I bet all the tools against this next car we're going to race. And then it's like, oh. But this is all very small part of the movie, and I'll bet you this is where it was drawn out a little more in places like this, where it's like more tension at the race. Are they going to win? Are they not going to win? And so anyway, the girl wants to leave. She's like, I want to get out of this. And then, So anyway, the guys are all in, and then the girl wants to leave. And JT's like, hey, we're going to go to Florida after this. When we get to DC, we're going to go to Florida. He's trying to keep her in a very ham-fisted way, just like GTO. Because GTO earlier was like, they got some great beaches down in Florida. We're going to go down.
Why was like this movie and Midnight Cowboy? Like, that was the goal in Midnight Cowboy also, another existentialist movie with two anti-heroes.
Yeah.
like that was the goal, to get to Florida. Florida was like the manifest destiny of this time period, I guess. I don't know why. In 69, 71.
Yeah. Everyone's going to Florida.
Yeah, we're going to go to Florida, and we're going to, once again, be in a different movie.
This was before Florida Man. And in fact, I think Warren Oates becomes Florida Man. I don't know. Anyway. So the Chevy wins. It beats this vet. And so the girl's riding with GTO, and then JT wants to catch her. And so the mechanic says, hey, man, you don't have to go. You don't have to get her. We can just continue on to DC.
Yeah, he just tells her, he tells him to let her go, basically.
Yeah. But JT wants to follow her. And the mechanic says, you know what? She's going to burn you. And he's like, well, where is she? He's like, we passed him a while back.
Oh, yeah.
And he's just like, pull over and I'll tell you, man. And so what do we see, Jordan? They pull over and he's going to tell him where the girl is.
And she's at a diner with Warren Oates' character.
Yeah. But what do we see? The car pulls over. And what do we see through the car window?
Oh, what? Wait, what is this part? Damn it. What is this part?
Jordan, the film crew and the camera. This is like notorious here. Like, they pull over and you see Monty Hellman and you see the cameraman and you see everybody just sitting there with their hands on their hips.
Oh, how did I miss that gaff, man?
Oh, dude, it's blatant. It's like center in the shot, but it's like
Damn.
I love it. It somehow adds to this movie for me. It adds the homegrown quality. Like this is, and maybe it's even damned intentional. I doubt it though. But I mean,
well, that makes it. You wonder if it's intentional because of the very last frame that we're going to get to eventually.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe it is.
the last infamous frame, which I didn't forget.
Yeah, maybe it's Monty Hellman's commentary. I doubt it. I honestly
is this
think
Monty
that...
Hellman's Jean-Luc Godard movie? Jean-Luc Godard always broke the fourth wall in like his movies. That's a French filmmaker I'm talking about, folks. Go look it up.
The French loved Monty Hellman. Monty Hellman loved the French. So yes, I mean maybe it's intentional. How could you edit that and not see it? Because it's so blatant.
He's just like leave it
it's
in.
So blatant. Well, you didn't see it. I don't know. But I mean, maybe they didn't have coverage. I mean, maybe it was simply something like that. I don't know. Anyway, GTO is sweet talking the girl, and he's like, if we don't get grounded soon, I'm going to go into orbit. So just more and more of this message.
He's talking about settling down with her in Florida once again.
Yeah. And so they stop for breakfast, and this long-haired type with a motorcycle outside is sitting at the bar, and he's making eyes at her.
Oh, yeah. He's got his eyes on her completely, and you almost you're like, okay, wait. Is she going to pick up on his eyes and leave with him now?
Yeah. Is she over this bullshit? I don't know. But this is when the movie becomes more about the girl than the race. More about this macho contest between the dudes to get the girl than it is even about the race that gave them meaning in their lives a minute ago. Right?
This is where the movie becomes a ménage à trois, like a Jules and Jim. Look, I'm a French critic now. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Anyway, French critic just came out of me from nowhere.
French critic. Jordan's inner French critic. I love it.
This movie knows how to be clever and knows when it's being clever, okay?
The French really love Tulane Blacktop.
Tulane Blacktop, Monty Hellman, excuse me. Yes. Let me blow smoke back at the screen because he deserves it.
Yes.
Okay.
But the French title was The Road of Ennui.
The Road en route.
Yeah. A guy, a girl, and a cafe of despair. It was like les cars, les drifters, les road.
I could see that.
2 men and a liar. 2 men, a girl, and a liar. That was the German title.
Die Car.
Das Car.
Das Car.
Das Automobil.
That was awesome.
Anyway. So then JT storms into the cafe and he sits down. He's staring right at the girl. And he says, hey, a line that is ever going to sweep any woman off her feet. I promise you. He's like, hey, let's go to Columbus, Ohio. I know a guy who wants to sell some parts for cheap. I mean,
Columbus, Jordan. Ohio. Now one of the meth capitals, by the way. No, I don't know that. I'm just making that up. I shouldn't say that.
It's actually a nice town, Jordan.
But I know in Columbus, that's where they're eating the dogs. No, but Columbus, Ohio, probably the most boring ass place ever.
Look, wasn't Family Ties that 80s sitcom? Didn't that happen in Columbus? Look,
was that in Columbus, Ohio? Man,
I'm probably wrong.
All right, I shouldn't shit talk Columbus, Ohio. I don't know anything.
We have a huge listenership in Columbus, Ohio.
But nobody ever says, hey, let's go away to Columbus, Ohio. What do you say? Let's go settle down in Columbus, Ohio.
Look, you, me, Columbus, Ohio.
I know
that's what's going to make everything right.
Last anniversary, I said to my wife, I was like, you know what? I'm thinking we should visit Columbus, Ohio for our anniversary. What do you think? I've never been there before. I'm just intrigued to go there.
And she says what she says every month. I want a divorce. Let's go to Columbus to get divorced.
That was next. That was it just made it worse by mentioning Columbus, Ohio. So, yeah, the next words were divorce.
But relationship advice, unless a lady is from a shittier place than Columbus, Ohio, don't offer to take her to Columbus, Ohio if it's your end destination. No disrespect. I'm just saying. Pick a town, any town USA. But anyway, so she says, Columbus, no. And then the motorcycle dude.
How about Iowa? Forget Columbus. How about Iowa? Iowa's got a lot going on.
Jordan, Iowa's a Chinese TV manufacturer. I think they also make refrigerators. Anyway, so the hip new flavor of the month is at the counter and gets up and leaves. And he's just like, I fucking her hard. He's just like, hey, I'm leaving. And then she sees him. he gets on his motorcycle and just waits. And then she just gets the fuck up. And we see her run outside, grab her bags, go over to the bike, and she's like, "Hey, you can only have one bag." So she leaves one bag on the ground, her duffel, and just takes her purse, and they take off. And James Taylor's just like, shit. He's just like watching all of this.
She's left Warren Oates too high and dry, so it's like, or GTO.
Yeah, those two disappear. I don't know if they went to the bathroom or if it's like, I don't know, poor continuity. They're not in the shot, so we can see James Taylor. But she leaves half her baggage and gets on the bike, and I think that's more metaphor being thrown at us here. She drops her baggage.
Yeah. One thing for this movie is it is very visually telling. I like that there's not always dialogue, that it's visually telling you things. Compared to other dramas of this kind, road dramas, road movies of this kind, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it is good cinematography.
It is beautifully shot, this movie, and beautiful, gorgeous 235 widescreen. Scope aspect ratio, to get all technical, sorry.
It does look good. And Gregory Sandor, I think his name is, he shot the film, but I think like another director of photography was brought on to finish it.
Yeah.
But whoever shot this and whoever laid out the shots, it's kind of rustic, but it's farm to table, but it's it works. It really works.
I think that this might have been shot in the old-fashioned Technoscope widescreen, possibly, which makes film grainier.
What does that mean, Grandpa Jordan?
Because it would make it grainier and, the more grain, so it's spottier looking. It looks like, but because it would use like half the 35 image. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm getting all technical now.
All right. But anyway, back to this film. Jordan teaches a class on on old aspect ratios. You can check it out.
I'll be teaching a course at Columbia this week.
His master class on aspect ratios and old filming techniques. Anyway.
Let me tell you about aspect ratio, master class. Here's the difference between 185 and 235. Look at the difference.
Anyway, back to this movie.
I'm sorry.
Back to this movie. Back to. So anyway, JT just leaves and the mechanic's like shaking his head. And with the girl gone, it's like back to the race. Once the girl leaves the movie, something is missing in the movie. Yeah. And you can feel it's palpable, right? So then GTO also leaves.
Yeah.
So he just gets in his car and drives off because they were all vying for this girl for so long.
Yeah.
And she was somehow the glue that was keeping this all together. But she's the flakiest thing in this movie, but somehow her presence was keeping all these dudes together.
She was like the communication between them. I think that's what it was.
Oh, interesting. You're right. You're right. She's a little messenger pigeon.
Yeah.
She's a little trophy that they all wanted to have on top of this race. The race wasn't maybe just getting to DC. It was maybe getting to DC with her. And I don't think they even all realized
that's the heart of this movie. They were trying to get, yeah.
So then they go outside, and then GTO, when he leaves, the driver JT is like hustling some other markets. Like, that's a pretty nice car. It's like, well, your car is kind of nice for a 2-bit hunk of junk kind of thing. And then anyway, GTO picks up these servicemen, and his story changes again. He's like, I'm driving a Chevy cross country, and I beat this GTO by a few hours. You just can't beat a home-built machine versus one of those Detroit models. So he kind of like foretells in a way, maybe, the end of the movie.
Right.
Then back at the racetrack, JT is racing an El Camino. Super Sport.
Yeah.
And Jordan, this is the end of the film. What happens?
Well, it's weird. Everything goes quiet around him. The soundtrack, I mean, as if this is his moment, I guess, inside where he gets inside himself and he's getting focused. It's kind of interesting. It's weird though how it like he's looking in his rear view, he's looking at the other car and all that, and looking at everything around him, and then everything goes quiet, and then he speeds off, and the sound slowly kicks in with the engine, but then it just freeze frames, and the film emulsion itself burns to white out. The film emulsion meaning it looks like what happens when a film gets caught in a projector, how it burns.
Yeah.
That's what exactly happens at the end of the movie right here before the credits.
Someone takes a lighter to the film negative.
It's weird, yeah.
Burns it.
But we don't get to see who won the race because it burns out. The film burns out.
Yeah.
Before JT burns out.
And it's a very, like you said, a sort of famous film ending, very interpretive, a very 70s ending, I would say.
Yeah, this side of Planet of the Apes. I mean,
Yeah. How do you think the race ended?
I think the driver won the race because he was, well, I don't know. You think
James Taylor?
You think the driver, yeah, James Taylor could beat that El Camino with that car? That El
Well,
Camino looked pretty souped
I mean,
up,
no,
but
maybe. But, well, I mean, that's an even better question. Maybe I don't, not that race. Maybe they won that race, but I'm talking about the race to Washington D.C. I mean, the movie forgets about that race. I guess we should forget about it too.
Oh yeah,
Who do you
yeah.
think won, or does it even matter?
I think the two guys won that race.
Yeah.
Well, because that's the movies. That's at least the guy's dumb luck, I guess. They seem to be good at racing, I guess.
But they're wasting time at this drag race, though.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So clearly the 3, 4, 5 hours, whatever, it's nighttime at this point. So they're there clearly overnight. I don't know.
Maybe they didn't win it. Maybe the engine burned out. Maybe their engine burned out. Maybe it was during this race the engine burned out, which is why the film did what happened.
Yeah. Maybe that's, yeah. I tend to think it's what he said. Number one, I can tell you, the film is telling us it doesn't matter who won.
Yeah.
We set this whole race up, and then Monty Hellman's telling you, that's not the point of my movie. Like, who won this race? All these characters, I guess, and it's very interpretive. My interpretation is like, they're all on a path of self-destruction, really. They're all on the road. They have nothing to tether them down.
Yeah.
Like Warnock said, it's like, we're all gonna burn out or whatever if we don't get off the road.
Yeah.
He says earlier in the movie, something like that. And I think that's really what the movie's trying to tell us. If you don't have any direction, you're just aimlessly on the road trying to run from everything that's not sustainable. You're gonna burn out.
Yeah. The movie's got a weird, I'm gonna say it again, like I've said this in other reviews, but it's got a weird dream logic to it.
Yeah. It's haunting.
Yeah.
It's haunting. It stuck with me. You know what I mean?
But it does stick with you. It's beautifully shot. I always forget when I revisit a movie from this time period of the 70s how far out some of these movies are.
Yeah.
Even though I've seen them before, it's like they didn't change before, so what's different? Is it me? I guess it is me.
I mean, for me, I'll tell you what, like, again, this is on paper one of my favorite movies of all time. And I was watching and I was still like, I love all the lines. I love these interactions. I just love these characters, even though they're not well drawn and all this. I mean,
yeah.
I love Warren Oates' character. I love these two. I love their synergy. I love their little race that they have.
The mechanic and the driver are very simple characters too. They're not like complex. I mean, they just care about their car. They probably don't have any pop culture references, I imagine, amongst them. They probably don't watch TV. They don't know enough about what's in the movies or TV probably, or, they don't know what's going on in the modern world. They don't care what's going on in the modern world.
All they care about is racing.
All they care about is racing in their cars. Literally, they are literally just steeped in it.
But Jordan, it's not just a mechanic and driver. It's James Taylor and Dennis Wilson, and you cannot escape that. You can't. Yeah. That's the special effect here.
And they're both great actors here. They both are natural actors.
Yeah, they loom large over this movie. You can't separate them from this, and I think that's part of. I don't think that was intentional, but I think that's part of the lasting appeal. But I do think the acting, I think, like we've said, is pretty good. They're natural. It's clumsy at times, but somehow that works for the movie. Yeah. Non-actors somehow works for this movie in a weird way. The direction's good. Mm-hmm. The cinematography, like you mentioned, is wonderful. It's this weird 70s story. It's very 70s. If you want a weird 70s movie, these aimless souls come together for just a little while to become a family and find the only purpose in their lives for a minute. Isn't that what we all want? Just some purpose and a family for a minute?
Oh my God. I guess that's the deeper meaning of this movie that you're talking about here.
Don't we just want to meet some people on the road we can connect with for a little bit?
Yeah, I guess maybe that's what the movie's saying. It's saying that we're drifting through this life on road, and yet we all want to connect. Because that's why I say it feels like a dream kind of like movie in a way.
Yeah.
Everybody's had those kind of dreams where you're just kind of drifting from one place to the other.
Yeah.
Whether you're like on the road traveling in the dream and then, you connect with other people in the dream.
Yeah. And they're not real. They're just like you. I don't know. There's something to that. And that's, I think, when the movie is its strongest, when they are together in this thing. And JT says, hey, man, we're in this together. And you like the fact that there's this uneasy truce kind of thing. I like movies when there's an uneasy truce.
Is this all maybe Warren Oates characters? Is this all GTO's dream? Maybe and is this all in his head? Maybe
As he's driving, maybe it's very.
Is this all in his dream?
I don't know. Maybe.
Are these two guys in his dream, like in his Twilight Zone?
Maybe conjured them up some people that would actually listen to him. Sort of.
Just imagine this is all GTO's dream. This whole movie.
Yeah.
GTO's is the one drifting. He's on the road, and he just happens to meet these two guys who are drifting. Maybe that's what it is, you know.
Jordan, I don't subscribe to the Jordan every movie's a dream. Monsters University was all a dream. Like I don't subscribe to every movie being a dream, but I do say this is dream-like as logic in a way, especially with the ending. It's like waking up from a dream.
But like when he walks up to them at the cafe and they just kind of ignore him at first, unless that's just the way the characters are until...
I just think they're assholes, yeah.
You know, like Laurie Bird only notices him like when he walks in.
I mean, I think this movie is so arty. I think you could dissect a lot of things. And it's one of those movies that's, especially from the 70s and 60s and 70s, especially, you know, French New Wave time.
Yeah.
There's a lot of interpretation that can be made here. They set the pieces up and you are free to interpret. It's vague enough that you can interpret a lot of things any way you want, right? Yeah. I'm not saying the way I've said it is the only interpretation. There are many others out there. Some I agree with, some I don't. But a lot of the critics at the time, and I'll get into the bad, today this is like kind of a cult classic, but at the time this wasn't well received because, you know, what's bad? The acting, the directing, the cinematography, all the things that are good about this movie also at times are bad. The script is weak. The characters are poorly written. They're just hollow metaphors. You can look at this movie and say, oh, this is just a very arty film that's trying to be pretentious just for its own sake and not really, you know, provide entertainment or anything of value. It's just, It's really just vague on purpose, which it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the film doesn't help you out at all. You have to just put the pieces together yourself, which is bad screenwriting.
I mean, I wouldn't change a thing. Of course, if it was my movie, I'd want to do Gone in 60 Seconds, you know.
Yeah, true.
I'd want more stunts, you know, with the cars.
Yeah, and it's a car movie that doesn't really, it has a lot of races and stuff, which is cool if you're a car person.
But this is not a car stunt movie.
No.
This is not a Cannonball Run or Smokey and the Bandit. This is more like if you were like off to the side with Dom DeLuise and Burt Reynolds, if you were getting to know them better and it was less about the race.
And they didn't talk at all.
If it was a serious Cannonball Run, yeah.
Yes.
And there was like spaces between them and you didn't have Captain Courageous come in. No. Not Dom DeLuise as Captain Courageous. No. If he does, he's going to be a serious Captain Courageous coming in to save the day. He's going to be like mechanic Captain Courageous. You know, like, oh, you need help with that flat tire. Okay.
Like,
but that's what this is more like. I
if
guess.
Monty Hellman directed Cannonball Run. Yeah. So, but the characters are poorly written, but that's kind of the point. This film, I'll tell you, like, I do on paper, this is one of my favorite movies, but I realized this time, like, it's more of this macho contest about getting the girl. And once I realized that, it sort of bothered me because I didn't want it to be just about this girl.
This is more like a French film.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, is this like Jules and Jim or like you know?
Yeah. I wrote in my notes, it's incoherent, anticlimactic, and has an unsatisfying ending. Yes, it is a French film, Jordan. And the French loved it.
I'm sorry to ruin your expectation, monsieur. But yes, anticlimactic is what we specialize in because there is no point. There is no point to living. There is no point because it will all end. You understand?
There is no point to the road, to the people, the life.
Cause and effect.
There is no point.
Monsieur, cause and effect.
Monsieur, you are looking for meaning where there is no meaning. You see, that is what the film is trying to tell you.
This is why we like Jerry Lewis comedies. Because there's no point to them.
There's no point.
Understand? There's no point with Nutty Professor. There's no point.
There's nothing to laugh at. Therefore, it is like a comedy deconstructed. There's nothing funny about Jerry Lewis.
Yes.
Therefore, he is the funniest. You see what I'm saying?
The moment that Jerry appears in a Martin Scorsese movie, King of Comedy, and he's serious, no. It falls flat there. It does not work. Because then they explain it. No, it does not work.
So the French love this film, but Americans, okay?
Oh,
There are a
yeah.
lot of comparisons of this movie to Easy Rider. Easy
Oh,
Rider
especially
is
at
about,
that time period, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Monty Hellman said the movie, almost to his chagrin, got made because of Easy Rider. They were throwing money at anything that looked like it was going to be an Easy Rider.
That makes sense back then. Like every studio wanted that Easy Rider money. Like I was saying in the beginning of this podcast, even right down to like Dennis Hopper's movie, the last movie, got released the same year, 1971, and that was the same deal where Universal just threw money at Dennis Hopper, after Easy Rider. And it, like I said, it's like they all want that formula of the youth formula of existential plot. The characters go nowhere. We got to do it like Easy Rider. Geez, that's what the young people is the audience. That's the market, the young people.
They're going to flock to see Tulane Blacktop. Look, it's got James Taylor. It's got Dennis Wilson. It's about a road thing. They're going to love it. What could go wrong? Easy Rider is about the freedom of the American road and the American dream. Going, oddly enough, east. All these movies are going east to find the American dream. Tulane Blacktop is the exact opposite. It's saying the road is like a sentence for people who have nowhere to go. It's like nihilistic. There's no hope out there. If you try to just go on the road and find your meaning, you're not going to find it. That's what Warren Oates was saying.
Yeah, like the Easy Rider poster said it, and apparently the marketing department at Columbia dreamed up that themselves. That was not like something Dennis Hopper or Peter Fonda was like, hey, put this on the poster. But on the poster it says, man went looking for, America and found nothing. It says something like that. And that's the point of Easy Rider, basically,
Yeah. So Monty Hellman was fond of a quote from Jean Cocteau, who said, a work of art should also be an object difficult to pick up. It must protect itself from vulgar pawing, which tarnishes and disfigures it. It should be made in such a shape that people don't know which way to hold it, which embarrasses and irritates the critics, incites them to be rude, but keeps it fresh. The less it's understood, the slower it opens its petals, the later it will fade. And I think that's from a Variety article. So basically, I don't know if he was trying to make a nihilistic or existentialist film. I think he was just trying to make something like an art film, like his other films. Hey, you look at other Monty Hellman films, right?
He's like a European American director, so to speak.
Yeah.
He's got that European aesthetic he applies. He's got a European mentality of filmmaking.
Yeah.
He's influenced by a French New Wave, clearly. If he's quoting Cocteau, Jean Cocteau,
Yeah. Even so, more than other directors at the time, or as some as the most far out. Joe Rodowski, I wouldn't say he's that far out, but I mean...
That's pretty far out, Joe Rodowski, yeah.
Yeah. He's like those type of directors, right?
It's like he's making a foreign film in America.
Yeah.
But
he's making an art film.
Yeah.
But guess what? Is that what American audiences want to see? On a budget of $875,000. Yes, Jordan, this movie cost $875,000.
About the same as Easy Rider, almost as much.
Yeah.
Which was less money than Hollywood was spending at the time on musicals.
And and with James Taylor and Dennis Wilson, right?
Obviously, he was paying them just, scale salary, I guess. They worked cheap.
I don't have the box office, but I couldn't find it, but it was notoriously a flop. It bombed in New York pretty much on its opening weekends or its opening weeks, and Universal thought it was going to be the next Easy Rider. But
you would think, my God, with the name value on the posters, they got James Taylor, Dennis Wilson.
But anyway, it bombed so bad that except for Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, I mean, the man worked, but it more or less ruined his career.
I remember messaging him, asking him about his involvement with RoboCop. They told him he was going to direct RoboCop. And then later on, they never got back to him. And then he ended up just directing second unit on RoboCop, like second unit stuff that was L.A. area, pickup shots, stunt stuff.
Yeah, he did Cockfighter later and other things. But, I mean, this was his sort of shot, so to speak, to make that big movie.
Yeah.
But honestly, I love it.
It's a good movie still, though, nevertheless.
Yeah. Jordan, what kind of rating do you give this film?
Oh, it's a tough one, man. I mean, I think modern audiences may not get this movie. But
too slow?
I would still, because the pacing they'd have to give time to the pacing. might just ask why things are happening too much if they were watching it. But I would still give it 7 out of 10 carburetors that
Good
need
one.
cleaning.
Carb jets. What I did learn about cars is you need to check those carbs in those jets. And that's
Those
why
carbs in those jets. Yeah, we need to check the carbs in the jets, as Dennis Wilson says. What rating do you give it?
I'd say a little more generous than you. Again, as one of my most favorite movies for no reason.
Yeah.
Maybe not so much after this viewing, but a strong 8.5 out of 10. Fucking cicadas. Film crews clearly in the shot, like clearly. I don't know.
8 out of 10 crew members showing up in the shot.
It's more than a boom mic. A boom mic is like 1 point. The whole crew and the director in the shot, that's like a 10. But no, I think honestly, the whole is more than the sum of the plot. Freudian slip. The whole is more than the sum of the parts.
Yeah.
Warren Oates is great. It's beautifully shot.
He is. Yeah.
The acting is good, even though it's bad. I like the story. And honestly, it's just a cool ass movie. It's not trying to be anything. It just is. And the fact that it's not like a lot of other things. I mean, you could say, oh, it's like Vanishing Point, or it's like some of these other kind of movies.
Definitely not like Vanishing Point. Vanishing Point at least has car stunts, for one.
True. Okay. Well, maybe Vanishing Point's more
it's a road movie
entertaining.
like Vanishing Point, I guess. It shares the same road movie thing.
Yeah. And it's not, I mean, Easy Rider 2 kind of has this nihilistic ending, but I mean...
But its simple quality is endearing about the movie. And the simpleness of it. And the fact that Monty Hillman did direct these two musicians come actors really well. That shows what a good director he was. The fact that he still got performances out of those guys. Nevertheless, that's a two-way street, acting and directing.
Yeah. For all its faults, and there are many, it feels more legit. It almost feels like a documentary. It feels real.
It's a movie full of moments, I think, that are endearing.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what
I think you're
is.
right. Like real moments. Like, I don't know.
And that's what it shares with Easy Rider, actually, not to compare it again to its predecessor, but that's what people loved about Easy Rider was people being real. Guys sitting around a campfire talking. It wasn't so much the fact they were getting high. They were talking like they were getting stoned, and you didn't see them doing anything bad after getting stoned. They were actually just talking like people. Yeah. And that's what this movie has, a lot of moments like that where people are being real.
Yeah. And Warren Oates makes a movie for me. It's a soup that's missing a few ingredients, but it's a very good soup.
Yeah.
And it's not like other soups. It's not like these other movies. There is only one Two-Lane Blacktop. It's better than a lot of movies like it.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it just has this weird charm. I like it. Maybe it's not for everybody else. Clearly, it's a big cult film of Criterion.
Do you remember
years ago made
in the Z Channel documentary when they interviewed the guy who was the subject in an old interview, Jerry Harvey, who ran Z Channel? They said, "What was your upbringing like?" And he said it was somewhere between American Graffiti and Two-Lane Blacktop.
Yeah, and looking at it now, it is sort of depressing and nihilistic and whatever. But anyway, I don't know. I still like it. I see its flaws a little more now than I did before, but I don't want to focus on the flaws. I want to focus on that real feeling of the American road in 1971. And maybe I would get in a race with somebody, and maybe, I don't know, it'd be Warren Oates. Anyway.
The pacing might be slow, but the movie doesn't run long. Hell, it's only an hour and 42 minutes. Once again, it's not a 4-hour movie. And that's actually also its saving grace, but it is a movie full of golden moments, like between these actors and, man, and once again, I wish Dennis Wilson had done more movies. Like,
Two-Lane Blacktop 2.
Yeah.
What actually happened in the first movie? How the first movie ended. Anyway.
Like Dennis Wilson, the lifeguard.
So, thank you all for listening. We hope you enjoyed this very in-depth discussion about Two-Lane Blacktop. Go see it. I don't think we've spoiled it, but who cares? And if you like this episode, hey, listen to our other episodes. Some of the other films we've talked about have Warren Oates and Harry Dean Stanton and whoever in it. Yes. And if you like this podcast, then tell your friends, tell your kids, tell your wife, tell your coworkers, tell people you randomly meet on the road that you choose to have a cross-country road trip of self-discovery with, that you like this podcast.
Yeah, excuse me. You boys doing a podcast here? Where do you think this podcast is going, huh? Where's this podcast headed?
You know what?
You in charge here?
I'm a part of this podcast, and Jordan there is he's my podcast partner, and we know how to keep it together, if you know what I mean. We're just podcasting across this country.
Yeah, just podcasting across this country. Just
Racing
we're on a few
podcasts.
platforms. A few piss-poor platforms, maybe.
So thank you all for listening, and yeah, if you like this podcast again, hit all the good buttons, like, subscribe, whatever the good buttons are on whatever platform you're listening to this on, and check out our future episodes. Jordan, this has been
The robots took my podcast. I'm not grounded. Pretty soon I'm going to go into orbit.
all trailers, clips, music, or any other copyrighted material are used sparingly, edited from their original forms, and used for the purposes of criticism, discussion, commentary, and education about these fine films.